that year
हो रहा है,
wise.
स्टार्ट हो रहा है,
From here you can see the most of the award we
स्टार्ट
have
हो गया।
done in by October 18 and then up September 19. We have also awarded many units during the Corona time. We have worked hard in Corona time and we made a specification. We have made tendering and then we have awarded in the Corona time also. So you can see 12,714. Basically, this is the Corona time. Now how we have started and how we have approached to meet the environment norm. When norm came in December 2015, then NTPC thought, because we have to implement in 155 units and 65,000 megawatt, so we should make a complete survey worldwide. So NTPC sent the various team to worldwide and visited manufacturing site, plant, feedback for every type of technology for SO2 and NOx. And then also we have analyzed the input to CRC. We have given the data. Then we have told what are the technology. Then we have, based on that, we have done the technology selections. And also wherever the possible, the Indian coal problem, then we have planned for the pilot testing. Then also we made the strategy and action plan how to award and then implementation. If you see the details, so then first we visited, and we visited not only one country, we have visited USA, Europe, UK, Japan, China. So covered all part of the world and all type of the technology. And not only manufacturers view, we have taken the utility views, how it is running, how it is impacting. Then we done the analysis, policy advocacy. We have collected data, each plant data, because this technology selection is the specific to the plants, and each plant have required to analyze and data we have collected. Then as I told, we make action plan. Then also we have done from where limestone will come and where gypsum will sail. For each plant wise we have done the mapping, and then accordingly we have the implementation and try to complete by December 22. However, due to Corona, there is delay, and due to other problems, there is problem. So for that, we made a similar type of plant and make a lots, and we made the tendering in the lot wise. So we have clubbed the same uh, uh, installation date plants, same type of plants where similar type of technology can be implemented. So accordingly, we made some unit we have required early implementation like NCR. So we have done them independently, and somewhere project was going on. So we have done also EPC basis, and based on that we have made many done the many analysis. And also somewhere we got the higher cost, then we have done the retendering also. So every type of possible combination we have tried and done. Now question comes, basic question is how to select basic parameters for selection of the technology for SO2 with respect to SO2. So we have to understand, as we have told, the norms is different for different unit, and it depend on the size of unit and unit installation date. So basically, for SO2, if you see unit which is installed before 2016 and a smaller size unit that has norm only 600, that means we required efficiency there for a smaller unit. But after 2017, we required the 100 for any size of the unit. And but for before 2016, if unit size is higher, 500 megawatt and above, then SO2 efficiency requirement is higher. So based on that, we have to see which type of technology is applicable. Then question comes, how much life has been consumed and what are the unit remaining life. Then plant load factor, whether unit is running the full load or part load, or what are the plant load factor. Then capital and operating cost of that technology, how to source for that plant. Then reliability and space constraint. Somewhere we have selected technology, but there is no space. So we have to see this should be the compatible for to that. Then how many suppliers are there? Supply chain, like limestone or which technology we are selecting, whether that is available near the plant or as sellability is there or disposal, and then implementation rule. Like in NCR, suppose you require to comply by in one year or 2 years, so accordingly you have to select the technology. This is the basic parameter which has to be seen. And if you see the basic technology of FGD can be divided in three major portions: wet FGD, semi-dry, and dry. And there are many other technology which is combination of that. That means that can be reduced the SOx, NOx, and so there are many other technologies. Polymer-based technology. Some people will say that sulfuric acid it will make. Some is the React. So many technologies. But I am giving here mainly broad classification. So now first I come to wet FGD. In wet FGD also, if you see, so there are that limestone base FGD. And limestone base FGD, if you see the black color, here also the three types of the absorber: spray type absorber, jet bubbling type absorber, and DCFS. So different vendors give the different. Spray means when we are spraying from the top. Jet bubbling means when you are mixing the flue gas and water, and from the through the water, passes through water and bubble through bubbling jet, and then mix the slurry and flue gas. In DCFS, it's like fountain. It's a double contact flow, so that when flue gas goes towards the fountain side, then it will mix. Then when coming back, then it will also mix. The byproduct of this is gypsum. Second technology is called ammonia-based technology, where is also spray. Here the reagent is different. It's not limestone, it is ammonia, and byproduct is the ammonium sulfate. Then seawater, that is also spray type, none. So this is called the byproduct is none. So this is called wet FGD. Then come to the semi-dry options. So we can say there are also different type of technology. One is called spray dryer absorber, where reagent is the lime. So lime can be two type, which is quick lime or hydrated lime. If you are taking quick lime, that means you have to put the hydrator. And then the other type of technology is the circulating dry scrubber, or NID. One is the novel integrated desulfurization. This is the patented name of the some vendor. So here also the lime, quick lime or hydrated lime can be used. Byproduct is the sulfide, which is no use, but we have to landfill or some dispose it. Then come to dry sorbent injection, where sorbent can be sodium based, calcium based, magnesium based, or any type of. And this byproduct is mixed with the S. So there is no byproduct, but it's mixed with the S. Now question comes, when we have so many technology, how broadly what are the thumb rule so that we can select? So I have written the megawatt wise and the requirement of SO2 norms. So if you can see wet limestone, it is applicable for the all type of all size. And if you see that strong supply chain, input and byproduct, and many vendors are there. Now, if you come to seawater, so this technology is also good, but it is suitable for the coastal plant where open water cycle, closed cycle, if it's there, then it will not be suitable. Then come to ammonia-based FGD. Mainly here, vendor are limited, and one main vendor is there, Chinese vendor. And then ammonia, high amount of ammonia is required, so some safety hazard, high operation risk, cost more if your byproduct is not sold. Then circulating dry scrubber and semi-dry technology. So this is basically for medium time remain, if remain, then it can be used, and for medium size of the unit size, it can be used. But disposal of the byproduct is a big issue. Here back filter are required. So if there may be some issue in operation and may require to change. Then come to the dry sorbent injection. So this is applicable only for the smaller size unit because its efficiency is limited. So we cannot go for higher size. But here problem dry sorbent is we have low capex but high opex. So this basically is suitable for older unit where low efficiency is required and low PLF, and remaining life is also low. Then you can use it. So this is only thumb rule. This is not, but every plant wise you have to see. As I told the, so as I told you, the mostly places NTPC is using the limestone base, and also we are using the dry, but dry is very limited, dry solvent injection, but mostly place we are using the limestone base. So here basically five systems. One is the, when gas is coming, it is going to the absorber and then cleaned one and going to the chimney. And now we are providing the new chimney. So this is going for low height chimney. This is one system. And second system is the preparation of the limestone. And so limestone handling system. Then after handling their and handling system, there are crusher and other things. If you are taking the crushed limestone, then crusher will not be required. And then after this, getting the limestone, you require to the make a slurry. So you have put in silo. Then from that, wet mill is required, which make the limestone slurry, and then that slurry mixed with water goes to the absorber. So this is the second system, and the third system is the uh, gypsum. So gypsum, when bleed, we are taking, when gypsum form here, we have to separate out the water and gypsum separately. So for that, it is hydrocyclones and vacuum bed filter are required, which separate out, and we will get the gypsum cake, which can be sold, and based on the purity, it can be utilized when in the gypsum board or cement or somewhere else. The fourth system is the water, which is required for wet FGD. So the water process water system is required. So here I am showing the some equipments which how it looks like, just to give the idea. So booster fan, this is XL type of booster fan which you can look here, and this is the gas to gas heater, which is similar to the uh, air preheater, but here the construction of material height and everything things are different. And now uh, earlier we have plants where like Vindhyachal and Bogaigaon we are using it. Now because of this high pressure drop and other uh, auxiliary power consumption and other issues, now in new we are not going to use this gate and dampers which is required, and then bed wall mill which I told how where it is required, and then this is the vacuum bed filter. Then comes to oxidation blower. Oxidation blower is required for in the absorber to make the complete oxygenated so that we can get the gypsum. And recirculation slurry pump is required to in for absorber which can be recirculate the slurry so that we can get form the gypsum, and mix the flue gas, and for spraying this recirculation slurry pump will not required for jet bubbling type of absorber. Agitator is required to so that our slurry should not settle in the absorber, so this agitator should be there. Now, in smaller plant, we have also tried out one solution where the we have higher PLF, but life is less. So how to optimize the cost? Then we have combined two, three plants, suppose 200 megawatt, three unit we can combine, and then make one absorber. So efficiency requirement is more, less. So we can also bypass, or we can have a small efficiency absorber. So we can see how the possibility, and according to we can take the decision. Now question comes, what are the challenges we are facing? And now, because we have most of the unit we have already awarded, and now this is under implementation stage. As I told, in NCR we got very difficult execution schedule and corona problems. So as you are aware, FGD normal implement but FGD normal implementation time is required around 30 to 36 months. But in NCR we got the less time, so execution schedule is tough and we have big problem there. And now because of the high demand, so equipment supplier in India is less. So we have tried and we have make many clauses to develop suppliers, and we put many make in India uh, clauses in the specification. So only 20% now equipment is required to be imported. But other problem is coming like civil agencies, chimney agencies, and erection agencies, and 276 cladding agencies are very few. Like chimney, if you see, only Viking, Priya Construction, L&T is doing their only um, project, their project only NBCC. So only two, three. Now we have to make suppose 150 chimney for NTPC only. So this is very difficult problem we are facing. Then layout related issues like in brownfield, many surprises coming. Suppose in underground we are finding some issues. Then space is maybe some problem. So based on that, layout will be difficult. Then duct length will be increased. So this issue definitely will come. Then labor at site because of the uh, COVID, we are facing big issues, and still pre-COVID and now the if you see the compare the manpower, that is not matching till now. Then impact on came on the equipment and material supply due to COVID. Then even COVID infection and employee affected the office work also, engineering and ordering also. Then as you aware, the industrial oxygen was not available, and it was made regulation that it should be stopped. So that time, erection work could not be done. Then because of the restriction on travel, so we may require to depute for inspection, manufacturing, or inspection, or supervision and testing. So there will be delayed. This has been delayed. Then many restrictions are imposed for land water sharing country. So earlier many equipment coming from the land water sharing country. So for government company this is applicable. So that also we are facing some issues on this when project which we started later, and which some component are not available. But now we have come up, and we are developing many vendors in India. So this problems getting reduced. Then come to the uh, as you aware, maybe in from March, the sharp abnormally steep price rise in steel. That so some problem coming in the contracts which are already earlier, and there is no price fluctuation clauses. Then this creating uh, hindrance. Unit overhaul issue, as you aware that FGD should be uh, this connected for the main unit. So for that, we require shutdown. So NTPC had decided we should not take we will try to take, try to connect during the overhaul. So when overhaul is deferment or preponement, so that availability of the material and labor at that time is required. So this is impacting the interconnection work for FGD. Then implementation priority changing, as I told in the chronology earlier, that it was given by the CPCB, then told by Honorable Supreme Court priority. Then now category A, B, C changing. So the priority changing, we are doing some work. Then maybe some plant will impact. This is so. This is all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for sharing the presentation. I would request you to please stop sharing it so that we can move ahead. Just give me a second. I will stop it from here. No problem.
I will do.
Thank you, Mr. Gupta, for the wonderful presentation. It was a great start for the SOXNOX technical sessions that we started a few minutes back. And I would request you to wait for some time. And I would request all the delegates to please share your questions if you have any to Mr. Gupta, so that by the time he is here, he can answer all your questions and all your queries. So I would request Mr. Gupta to please stay with us till we receive any questions, and after Mr. Gadre's presentation, we will move with the question and answers.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining. Moving forward, we have Mr. Ramkrishna Gadreji joining us for this. Welcome to the sixth edition, Mr. Gadre.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So I would request you to please please share your screen so that we can have your presentation ready, and then over to you.
What I have to do? I shared my screen, but
But you just have to put it on full screen. I can see that we can see your presentation, but request you to put it on full screen.
yes. Can you see now?
Yeah. You have
Yeah.
to change the mode. You have to change the display settings because here it's not completely visible. It has got splitted into multiple screens. So you
Okay.
have to click on display setting, which is on top of your menu. Yeah, you have to click on full screen from the top.
Where in the top?
View tab. Or you can do it from the bottom as well. That's not a problem. Bottom right, you will see a button of full screen. Thank you, Mr. Patil, for sharing the question. We will forward it to Mr. Gupta once we finish with the technical sessions. And I would request all the other attendees also to please share your questions so that we can push it to our esteemed dignitaries. Yes, you have to minimize this window and you have to open the PPT.
No, is it visible now?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Over to you.
Okay.
Mr. Gadre, we cannot hear you. Your voice is not audible. No, we cannot hear you. I guess it's because of the device you just plugged in. So I guess if you remove the device, the earphones, I guess that'll work. Or you can go to the audio videos. Yeah, you will see the settings icon. Settings icon. Yeah, you click on it. Yeah, you go to you have to select the audio part. Yeah, right there, the audio part. Yeah, you have to select your earpiece. Perfect. Can you try so that we can check? No, we cannot listen to you. We cannot hear you.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I shared the presentation.
Please share the screen.
So now the presentation is visible?
Allow us a second. Might take you. No, you have to share it again.
Okay, I'll do that again. So is it now there?
Not now. I guess you have to stop sharing and you have to reshare the screen again. And
That's
then
what I did. That's what I did. Share the screen. Entire window.
And then you have to press share button.
Share.
Yes, you have to minimize this window.
Now it is there.
Now you have to minimize this window.
I'll close all windows, so no question. Something gone wrong. Is it visible? Excuse me?
I'm saying you have to minimize this screen because we can see the screen right now.
So how to minimize that screen? Can you?
Is your presentation open?
Yes, my presentation is open.
Okay. So what you can do is you can stop sharing, and the moment you share screen, you will see a button which will directly take you to the presentation. Instead of entire screen, you will see another which will take you to the presentation.
Okay.
I will take you through, not a problem. So you can stop sharing now. You can close this. You can close this. This is sorted. Yeah. Now please share your screen. You will see two buttons, PDF and share screen. You have to click on share screen.
Share screen. I did
Right.
that.
And now you will see top on the top of the window dialogues, which will say entire screen application window.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to click on application, and then you will see if your presentation is open. You will see your presentation there.
No, I am seeing the entire screen, window, and Chrome tab. So should I
So
say
you have
Chrome?
to click on window. You have to click on window.
Okay, I did that.
Can you see your presentation if it's open?
No. Yes. In between, I saw it, and now it is not there.
So you have to open here, and then you will see your presentation under that window, and you just have to click on it and share it.
Correct, but why I'm not seeing this?
Sharing button was
Now I see. I saw it. Okay. So is it now visible?
Yes. Request you to
Okay.
please put it on full screen.
Yeah. So now it is there in full screen.
Absolutely. Please go ahead.
So sorry for this interruption. Sorry, everybody. I'll be covering what are the challenges in FGD technology implementation. Mr. Gupta has covered in detail about the technology and what are the actual execution issues. I'm covering a little bit about what are the regulation issues and some other issues, as well as I'm trying to cover very few slides about the NOx. I think when we are talking of environment implementation, NOx is also a part of it. And so there are, of course, NTPC has already gone ahead with the implementation of NOx combustion control. So I'll try to cover what we have come across, some of the issues of the NOx also. So just before that, very quickly, I will try to give you the glimpse of what Tata Power is. Most of the people may be knowing, but still I would like to tell about the Tata Power. Tata Power is now more than 100 years old company. It is founded in 1906, and in first hydro plant had come in 1915. Originally, it is basically a Mumbai-based company, and first thermal power plant was set up in 1960 at Trombay. which was 150 megawatt unit. And at present, we have around around 13,000 megawatt installed capacity, which includes coal, gas, heat recovery, hydro, wind, solar, and everything. And out of that, around 8,800 is the coal-based stations. Company is in the different area of business like fuel logistics, generation, that is thermal, hydro, solar, wind, and all those things. We are also there in transmission and distribution. We are distributing at present Orissa, Mumbai, and Delhi. We are in power trading also, as well as we have started new business also, which we are calling, where we are talking about electric charging stations, rooftop solar pumps, microgrids. So this is the new area which company has started few years back, and we have big plans on that. And presently, our major thrust is on the solar generation instead of coal. We have decided not to put up any more coal stations from Tata Power side. Tata Power was one of the always were leading into adoption of technology, and that is still continuing from last 100 years. Most of the technologies we were first to adopt it. Either it was first 150 megawatt unit or first 500 megawatt unit of country, which was established in Trombay. Gas insulated substation was also one of the first, which was there in again Mumbai. Even flue gas desulfurization unit in India was one of the first in 1985. Seawater based FGD was installed at Trombay, and that is still in operation. Then SCADA and fiber optic network from Mumbai, which we are running for many years now. Then again, the pump storage also of 150 megawatt, which in the hydro plants we have installed. That was also one of the first. 800 megawatt unit was the one of first two in India. Of course, now after that, many 800 megawatt units are there at our Mundra plant. Similar to that, still we are continuing in the wind turbine also. One of the first largest 2 megawatt wind turbine. Solar also, we were the first to install very small solar. Now it is very small 3 megawatt plant, but that time it was quite big. And first bigger plant of 25 megawatt also was installed at our Mitapur plant. These are the basically your CC norms. New CC norms are covering water, zero liquid discharge, SPM, SOx, and NOx. So these are the new norms which have come in now. Mr. Gupta had referred earlier about the categorization, which is the latest amendment into this environment norm. This one. Now for implementation date, they have categorized, they have proposed to categorize into 3 categories, category A, B, and C. And according to that, completion date has been given from December 22 to December 24. That is for non-retiring unit. For retiring unit, these different dates are there. Again, but as you say that this has been notified on 1st April 2021, but still there's not much of a movement in categorization of these 3 categories, which plant will fall into which category. So this uncertainty is still there. So we are not sure what is the date of, what is the date for each plant for us. So, but recently, last week only, we heard that no first meeting will be conducted. I think under the CEA, this one. So this uncertainty still exists on last date for each unit or each plant. There's a MOF has come out with the penalty also now very clearly defining what penalty will be there if the delays are up to 6 months and more than 6 to 1 month to 1 year and more than 1 year for different categories. One of the first requirement, which is very few plants are going to get affected, but there are still there are older plants where once through system is there, and they need to, other than the seawater based once through system, they need to, because that amendment has come that seawater based once through system are not required to change to cooling tower, but other plants which are required to change, they will have certain issues like they may not have the space available to provide cooling tower, because cooling towers are required to be put up as per the wind direction. It cannot be put up anywhere. Otherwise, the fume and the water particles will affect the structure in other areas. Our interface also will be there. And even the Coxy power consumption will go up, whole CW system will change, may change. Even condenser might not have designed for that much of pressure. So this there may be it may look like simply changing from once through system to cooling tower, but there can be good number of changes into the whole cooling system, including condenser, pumps, and piping also. Of course, Tata Power is not having any such requirement for any of the plants, because whatever once through system we have, they are both seawater based once through system, or otherwise we have already cooling towers. Then ZLD comes. ZLD now it has ZLD compliance is required some of the places. So ZLD compliance has a lot of dimensions to it. That how much quantity need to be done, what is the quantity, what is the monsoon condition will be there, non-monsoon condition will be there. What is the way of disposal of ash? If it is weight disposal, then maybe the less quantity need to be go through ZLD. If it is a dry disposal, then lot many water will be available to your doing ZLD. And because of that, the quantity of ZLD where you need to provide may change, and that will be a tricky situation. But ultimate problem comes, you can provide RO and maybe some other technologies are there, which one of the plant we have gone for high recovery where 95% recovery can be there. But ultimate problem comes what to be done about the effluent disposal, because that ultimate last mile to achieve that may require another operator and all those things, which is quite energy and cost consuming. So this may be one of the challenge which need to be identified while improving the cost. For improving the SPM particle matter emissions, most of the plants are having ESP. But because if their norms are changing from 100 to 50, or of course nothing may be changing from 50 to 30. But so if for improving, there may be they can do for installing the additional field, or they can increase the height, or they can go for parallel pass based on the situation of the plant. Where the space is available, additional pass can be there. Generally, increasing the height may pose problem, because older plants may not have the drawings and documents available to know that how much of load this existing structure can take. So that can be a challenge to identify and increase the height. But if space is available, additional pass can be installed. And we are going in one of the plant for installing the pass. Of course, we had done that before this environment norm has come. We had done on our own, and we have installed additional pass, and we are trying to achieve less than 50 there. And because of this, there may be other modifications also, like ADFN, if it's already peaked the capacity, because of additional height, and this one may have additional pressure drop, and which may affect IDFN capacity, or IDFN modification may be required. But the chances are very less. Generally, we have margin in IDFNs. In SO2 compliance, these are the typical challenges which we are facing, or others also may be facing. Older plants where space is not available. So accommodating particular technology which is most cost optimum may not be feasible. And but space is not available with the technology which is most cost optimum. So that for older plant, that will be a big challenge. Of course, fortunately, we had one issues in one of the plants, but we could accommodate somehow typical our limestone FGD there. But it is very, we have to split whole FGD into 4 parts, different sections, the handling section separate, milling section separate. As Mr. Gupta already said that we have clubbed 2 units into single scrubber. All those things we have done, and then only we could accommodate the FGD into the layout. Then sourcing and logistics of limestone also can put up a lot of challenges, because limestone quality which is required may not be available in vicinity of the plant. And at present, this is not coming into your merit order dispatch, because this is what proposal has been given by MOP. But tomorrow, if it starts coming, then this will become a challenge to in MOD, because some of the plants which are away from these limestone sources may have good amount of cost on limestone, which can vary from 1,000 rupees to 3,000 rupees or more than that. I'll come into later slides that CARC has complicated this problem by specifying that minimum quality should be 85%. Then disposal of gypsum. This is a value product, can be given to the cement plant, which can majorly consume it. But again, initially when the plants are coming, cement plants may be able to absorb the gypsum, even from the faraway location of the cement plants. But later, when most of the plants will have FGD, then the plants which are away from the cement plants will not be able to sell or will not be able to dispose of. And that time, this may become another ash. And this will be more problematic than ash, because this gets solidified if water is mixed for a longer time. So we need to come out with more disposal avenues or other venues where we can give the gypsum, of course, which will evolve slowly, but this is going to be a challenge. Then if we go for semi-dry FGDs, whatever the byproduct is there, do not have any such value like gypsum, and which will be required to be used only in landfill. So already ash is there, and if we are going for dry, then this may pose problem. Then I have covered already the reagent cost. Reagent cost is basically lime or limestone. So limestone is cheaper, but if you are going for dry FGD, we will be requiring lime, and which is much higher cost than the limestone. So, and procuring that also will be a difficult job. Then wastewater treatment. This is the area, I think, which has not been given the due attention while designing FGDs and all. Because this becomes quite specific to the plant system of ash disposal. If people are disposing bottom ash in a wet form, then the quantity of wastewater can be put into that, and it can go to the ash ponds, and because this becomes a quite small quantity compared to the overall bottom ash quantity. But if we have already dry system like hydrobean or total dry system, then disposing of this quantity becomes it's a quite difficult job, because TDS is which is being guaranteed is more than 30 to 40,000 and very high chloride. So in fact, in USA and all, people are choosing now dry FGD because of these issues only, because what to do about this wastewater, and putting up a ZLD for this wastewater is a quite again cost requirement. For a 1,000 megawatt plant or 30 cubic cube of water to be used into such a new ZLD for FGD, then you may require some 60-70 crore. So this is a challenge, I think, which may come, people may start facing it once they get into more detail about the wastewater disposal. Increasing auxiliary power consumption, yes, that is the challenge to everybody. Some norms have been fixed. We'll discuss that in later slides. Increasing OPEX cost, already thermal power plants are under stress because of high cost of operation and overall price with the today's situation of very low cost of your solar. So this will further deteriorate the situation by increasing the cost of the thermal stations. I'll quickly go through these NOx issues. Of course, I know that here the SOx is being discussed. So everybody is having low NOx burden most probably and overfire this one. But what is new required to meet now 450 norms is required to install SOFA, and which may give the reduction, may give most probably to the reduction required of 450 from today's level of maybe 700 or so. So this is something may depend on plant to plant, because this SOFA require additional ducting and additional opening into the boiler. So this only shutdown is the issue. Otherwise, this technology-wise is a simpler thing and can be implemented. SNCR is the another technology which will be required for controlling the NOx. Earlier, we were considering this very this one when limit was 300, because with SOFA, only SOFA meeting the 300s was difficult. So addition to SOFA, we were trying to have SNCR also. So, but now because limit has been changed to 450, so most of the plants may not require SNCR. As in NOx, it depends on coal. So if some of the difficult coals, if somebody is burning, very difficult, especially Indian coals are very difficult from the NOx point of view. So somebody may require, and if they require, then ammonia, slip of ammonia, dealing with ammonia's huge quantity of ammonia will be a difficult situation from environment and safety point of view. The last technology, which is this is SCR, which required to the plants who have to meet the 100 mg per nm cube norm. So this is a big, a lot of modifications are required in the boiler. Specifically, this becomes very difficult for the retrofit things. New plants, you can plan along with the original design, and you can have that this catalyst tower installed along with this one. But when you have to install this catalyst tower into the existing plant, then layout becomes a big challenge, because you have to take out the tapping before air preheater and take it to the whole gases to this tower and then put it back to again APH. So that is a huge lot of changes in the existing this one, and accommodating these things in the existing layout is going to be tough. We have one unit where we may require to go for this one. So we are struggling with a lot of layout issues and this one. Sorry. Another challenge which SCR may give is handling the catalyst. Catalyst, first of all, as earlier has been said, that these catalysts are proven for the low ash coals and not very much proven for the high ash coal. So that is going to be another challenge which will come once we start using it, that what sort of life they are giving, what erosion is happening. And second thing, because we will be how to dispose of, how to regenerate this one. And plus, again, auxiliary power consumption will be going up because of high pressure drop in this catalyst towers. So as I said, these catalysts are having molybdenum, vanadium, tungsten, these high metals are there, and hence they are costly and they are difficult to regenerate. To deal with the regeneration is difficult, and environment point of view, disposal is also going to be difficult. So, and when few plants are there, facilities available to doing these common facilities may also not be available. I had talked about the high ash coal and life also, as I said, typically suppliers are saying it is 3 years, but we don't know when with such a high ash coal of 40% or more, how much life will be actually will be there will be seen when we start some of the plants which I think NTPC is, which in original design they are already installing NTPC and other people. So we may come to know what is the life available. And some environment norms also need to be developed for disposal of this catalyst. Then, as I said, structurally, this is a big change and need to be incorporated. OEMs are not there. Very few OEMs are there. 1 or 2 are there. Dealing with ammonia, either you can use anhydrous ammonia or hydrous ammonia. If anhydrous ammonia is there, then it is very harmful and for biological and difficult to handle. If we get hydrous ammonia, hydrous ammonia, then because we require only 25% solution, so a lot of water need to be transported. So something in between need to be found out, that we get anhydrous ammonia and then convert into this one. So this is something, challenges will be there when really people will start dealing with it. I'll try to touch upon some of what are the CRC amendments have come for the tariff revisions and operating norms. So I'll top not regulatory and commercial thing. I'll try to cover up some of the points which are there. Like depreciation have been asked more than the life of the plants. So as we said, for where the life is consumed less than 15 years, you have been asked for 25 years. So in all these cases, what you will see that there will be residual life beyond the PPA, this one. It may be 10 years or 15 years. So, and given today's situation, we are not sure that plants will get extension of PPAs. So if we are not going to get extension of PPA, how this cost of this FGD will be recovered if depreciation is not being allowed within the life of the PPA? So this is something is going to be a challenge which we will be required to come out with some solution. Availability also is one of the area where concerns are there. If availability equivalent to plant has been given, so what does that mean? Is that are we going to see separate availability, check separate availability, or as the plant is available, this ECS system has to be available? If that is the case, what happens if the FGD is not available and plant is available? So there are answers need to be found out for that. See what happens and how we operate the plant or we don't operate the plant. No clarity is there. Then these amendments which have come out, they are not talking of any gypsum disposal cost. If you are not able to sell out the gypsum, if venues are not available, then what happens? There is no disposal cost has been this one. Then combustion modification, which we are talking of SOPA, leads to some boiler efficiency drop, which may depend, which depends on coal, which may vary from 0.4% loss to 0.8% loss. But this particular thing has not been considered in CRC. They have not given any guideline. They said they will deal with on case-to-case basis. Then DM water, if we are going for urea, then a lot of DM water will be required for making a solution. And in fact, when we are injecting this in case of SNCR, basically, that time your boiler efficiency will drop because of a lot of water injection into the furnace. So which has not been, in fact, SNCR has not been covered mostly into these regulations. Then auxiliary power consumption, DSI, nothing has been talked about how auxiliary power consumption of DSI will be taken care of. Then everything for all the plants, auxiliary power consumption has been given as 1%. But we feel that it is this should have been more little room for plants. Specific variation also need to be taken into account, because some of the plants where the space is not available, your gypsum handling or limestone handling, gypsum dewatering, and all those systems are required to be installed far away from your scrubber and this area. In those cases, a lot of handling of your gypsum and limestone to and fro happens, and in that case, your auxiliary power consumption may not be able to meet within 1%. So there is no this one has been given for any site specific issues. This one. Gas to gas heater, this is typically maybe coming only for seawater, so I'm not much saying on that. SNCR, again, as I said, SNCR has not been dealt with, so even power consumption has not been spelled out there. CRC is specifying minimum purity as 85%. So as I said, 85% purity is not available in all the area of our country. They are available in few areas of the country, and if some plants which are away from these locations will be under disadvantage. Up till until technically our FGDs are capable of handling lower quality of limestone, CRC should not object to it, but they have given. Even the formula which they have considered for consumption of the limestone, it takes into account only the sulfur dioxide for consumption and not HCl and fluoride and other which will react and will consume the limestone. So that has not been taken into account. So what we will get compensated may not be the fully compensated for our consumption, maybe little more than what has been given by CRC. Again, CRC CA formula takes into account only 85% sulfur to be converted into sulfur dioxide. But this basically depends on type of sulfur which is there in the coal. Sulfitic sulfur, or there are 3 types of sulfurs. Sulfitic sulfur doesn't participate into the combustion, but it is difficult how much sulfitic sulfur is there. So there people may face some problems if they come across the coal where this different type of sulfur contents are there. DSI, I think they have taken only very specific case of 60% SO2 removal and loading of 1450 mg per Nm3. But other plants are having some different limit. This one, then they have not taken into account. Commercial modification, we had talked about this one, that how it will be compensated. DM water also we have discussed about this. And wastewater treatment, I have explained already that this is the area which has been not given full attention. And because of this additional capex, additional APC, if somebody need to really achieve ZLD from FGD wastewater, then this is going to be a area which people have not thought about while conceptualizing, and they may come across this issue. We have gone. We have already ordered every FGDs, so we are not facing this. But this is something which was there in very few experienced Indian vendors are available who are there in the market, and same for NOx and FGD. Other issues, Atmanirbhar Bharat is putting a lot of pressure on procuring from Indian vendors, and good Indian vendors sometimes are not available for very specific equipments. Regulatory approvals is not much now. It is quite streamlined for the plants which comes under CRC, but for the plants which are coming under state regulators, this is still an issue, because a lot of state regulators do not have the clarity of how to deal with this still. So that is another issue which we had faced, and somebody may be facing this. Because now a lot of orders have placed, and whatever few new order need to be placed. They are not vendors available, so they are giving a lot of high prices because they already booked. And last is the funding for the private plants. Getting fund financially close this, because this overall capex for this 1,000 megawatt plant may go to 600-700 crores. So it's going to be it is a challenge. Another challenge which we have facing during the implementation stage, especially design stage, I'm talking about this, because existing plants, most of the places, everybody is deciding going for a new stack, because now wet stack is permitted, and instead of lining the old stack and taking a longer shutdown, it is a more cost optimum solution to go for a new stack. So most of the plants are going for the new stack. But what happens that when we do the wind tunnel study, either we provide these new stacks far away from the existing stack, and then there will not be any issue of interference. But layout may not permit that. So we have to do the wind tunnel study. In wind tunnel study, you can take care of new chimney in the design and do according to the loads which are coming. But what happens if your existing chimney becomes unsafe because of wind loads which are coming? So this is a dilemma which sometimes delay the project, because in fact we have insisted that without doing a wind tunnel study where it is clearly demonstrated that existing chimneys are also safe after installation of the new chimneys, then only we are allowing them to go ahead. So this is putting pressure on the schedule also, as well as if some, unfortunately in our case, nothing has been come out that existing stack is unsafe. But if that happens, then there is no way to correct that chimney, because sometimes even details may not be available. Or in doing any modification in existing stack is going to be a difficult job. Then borosilicate is most of the places, I think borosilicate is being utilized for lining up the stack. So there are very few vendors available, experienced proper vendors. And for gypsum dewatering system, vendors are less. Similar issues we are facing in slurry pumps also, because whatever the existing Indian vendors are there, they are not having these pumps and this one which is meeting exactly the variation in pump sizing and all those things. So proper exactly meeting pumps are not available, and lot of compromise is required to meet the specification requirement. Sale of gypsum I had dealt with already. Here we are trying to just this challenge is FGD wastewater, because as a TDS will be 25,000 to 40,000, and TSS also will be 18,000 to 20,000. Chlorides are more than 20,000, and there will be heavy metals because of ash. So where zero discharge is required and where the plant is dealing with the dry bottom ash, there this issues is there, and this particular system is going to put up a lot of challenges to the plants. Last, naturally, COVID is there. COVID is delaying everything. COVID is putting vendors are not available. If available, they are delaying the supplies. Even implementation at site is becoming difficult because of whenever first wave, second wave, we have to stop everything. So when the exactly completion will happen, it is becoming unpredictable. So COVID is a big challenge for everybody. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gadre, for sharing your presentation. I would request you to please stop share that. And thank you so much for taking the time out and deliver the presentation on the subject of challenges and in the implementation. I would request you to please stay with us, and we will have the final presenter before lunch, which is Mr. N.K. Singh, joining us from GIPCL. And right after that, we will start taking the questions. So for that, I would request Mr. NK, please turn on his audio and video so that we can have you on stage.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Mishra. Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Singh. How are you? Welcome back.
Fine.
I would request you to please share your screen so that we can start with the presentation. Yeah, you have to minimize this and open your presentation. Minimize this screen.
Okay.
Minimize this screen.
Can you see the presentation?
I can see the presentation. Please put it on full screen.
Okay.
Wonderful. Over to you, Mr. Singh.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon to everyone present there and attending this seminar on SOX-NOX 2020. Thank you to, big thanks to Mission Energy for inviting us, for sharing our experience and particularly on the SOX-NOX and issues, challenges and implementation part. This is just an overview of our Surat Lignite Power Plant. We are operating low-grade fuel lignite-based power plant. We have our own captive mines. There are 4 units, total comprising 125 megawatt each and 500 megawatt power plant. And especially, I will be talking about the new technology, CFBC technology, which we are operating for all these plants. So, if you talk about the issues of SOX and NOx, this is really not the issue for CFBC technology. We are fully complying with the norms, but there are challenges. So I will elaborate on the challenges because on the compliance side, new norms, we are fully complying rather than our emissions are much below than the new norms. Though units are 20 years old and 10 years old respectively, there are 2 phases. So the index, I will go briefly on company profile, then CFBC technology, plant performance and salient feature of CFBC boiler and the compliance related these new environmental norms, retrofitting pollution controls, and major issues and challenges, and details of ESP and other things. I will restrict my discussion only on the CFBC technology and norms only. See, GIPCL is an IPP, but it is controlled by Government of Gujarat, promoted by Gujarat companies, namely GSFC, GACL and this. We started our journey from Baroda captive-based frame 6, first frame 6 plant, gas-based, and then we moved to the frame 9 there itself, 165 megawatt. Thereafter, the company has gone for the thermal lignite-based power plant based on CFBC technology that is supplied by a process supplied by Lurgi. Design engineering, Langes Babcock, but total supply design engineering was done by the BHEL. And then, as you know, in Gujarat, they have started in 2009 itself solar policy. So we have gone for their solar here itself on mining dump top. You can see the photo that is on the mining dump top below one. So 5 megawatt in 2012. Thereafter, the company has moved ahead. I have a slides in the solar and wind renewable. And then we have, as I already told, we have our own captive mines. So now major thrust and focus has already been being told by all the speakers. For our company also, the thermal is now there is no for thermal. Company is looking and expanding its operations in renewable energy only. Just one slide, how we have started the journey in renewable also. We started in 2012, 5 megawatt under first, that time it was almost high cost and this, so we have gone for 5 megawatt. Here only mining dump top and supplied at the substation 1166 kV. That time, you know, this cost was almost 12 crore per megawatt when we started the journey, and tariff was 15 rupees per unit. Now, then we have done a innovative project of DSPP, distributed solar power plant, that is being connected to the 11 kV grid, and this is solar cum agriculture project. So this we have two solar this. Then we have gone to the wind 112.4 megawatt supplied by different reputed supplier like Inox, Suzlon, and others. And then in the solar, we moved to the Charanka Solar Park. We have gone for 80 megawatt through SECI, Solar Energy Corporation. That is 2 into 40 megawatt. Again, it was done by Vikram Solar. Then on EPC basis, then we have gone for 75 megawatt. That is again in Charanka Solar Park. Tariff is only 2 rupees 67 paisa that time. On that was done by Bharat BHEL. Then recently, just on last month, this month only, we have commissioned this on 12th August 100 megawatt solar plant at Radha Nesla. That was done by Tata Solar Power. And now we are developing a 2375 megawatt solar park at the Kutch Ultra Solar, Kutch Khawda Solar Park. We are developing 2375 megawatt. So company is going in big way on renewable energy. So now this GIPCL and our plant is already accredited with the ISO 9001, ISO 14001, 2015, ISO 45001, 2018, and for energy management also ISO 50001, 2018. Now, I was talking about the circulating fluidized bed boilers. This boiler has a lot of advantage considering the environmental norms. It is considered to be clean and green technology. Whereas there are some disadvantages also. So let us, so suitable for low grade, what we have the lignite, not only low grade, high moisture also, almost 50% moisture is there. And sulfur is almost 1 to 2%. In this technology, we are using limestone to capture the sulfur. So it is being captured 99 to 94% in the combustor itself. The technology has high combustion efficiency, fuel flexibility, fuel preparation is low because there is no issue of the pulverizers, high sustainability during operations, high operation stability, quick restart during hot box. So these and what is being discussed regarding the flue gas desulfurization plant, we don't need because we are fully complying. So that is a big relief for us. And not only the sulfur parts, NOx also, it is very low because this technology we are using temperature in the combustion is only 850 degree, and there is the stage combustion also. So NOx is almost less than 30-35 ppm. That has I have the slide, I will show you. But we have major disadvantage regarding the refractory work, higher unit outage because of large number of refractory, higher auxiliary power consumption, maintenance intensive boiler and approach and access issues, and high erosion in boiler. These are the major issues. Compliance of new normal environmental norms, online monitoring facilities at very first instance. We are complying with this. Continuous monitoring of environmental parameters, review of environment on daily basis we are doing, and sending the coordinating with GPCB and CPCB, Gujarat Pollution Control Board and Central Pollution Control Board, maintaining boiler operating temperature, meeting NOx emission due to low combustor temperature, meeting SO2 emission norms with limestone dosing, refurbishment of existing ESP fields and revival of dummy ESP fields. That we are doing in phased manner, and we are complying with the new norms. That I will explain. This is the condition for our plant are commissioned this phase 1, 2 into 125 in year 2000. We have 2 units. The norms, revised norms, what has been notified for particulate matter is 100 mg per NMQ, whereas annual average for last financial year is 64.64 and 75.56, means we are fully complying with the new norms. Similarly, for sulfur dioxide, this is 600 mg NMQ. Our emission is 100, 3 and 89.02. And I would like to tell to the audience, we are using low grade lime, having 40-41% CO content and 70% CaCO3. Even though we are able to meet the requirements. Though it has some issues on operational side, there is a slagging, there is a issue of the choking of the superheaters, but we are fully meeting the. Then the oxides of nitrogen, it is limited 600 mg NMQ, whereas we are meeting unit 1 and 2 both. If you see, it is less than 30. Similarly, for phase 2, these units are commissioned in the year 2010, and the norms is different than the phase 1 units. But for particulate matter, if you see, 50 mg NMQ, and our units emission is for one unit 47.7 and another is 34.99. So we are fully complying for this also. For this purpose, in both phase 1 and phase 2, we have done a lot of retrofitting work and revival of dummy field. So that has helped us in meeting this on ESP. For SOx NOx, we are fully complying with the technological advantage of CFBC. And here also, if you see again 600, we are 106.34, 106.89. And for nitrogen oxide, it is 24.86 and 13.69. Mercury, it is 0.003 mg NMQ. And on water side also, we are complying below this 3.5 meter cube megawatt, and it is around 2.5 and 2 to 2.5 meter cube megawatt hour. So we are fully complying with the new environmental norms, and this is being shared online to the CPCB and GPCB. Nevertheless, there are major challenges in compliance of these norms. This is just nothing but a snapshot of what we are showing and what has been summarized here. If you average, you can see the phase 1 unit below sheet data report. So this is, we are fully complying with this norm. Similarly, if you see here also stack emission, so you can see the boiler phase 1 parameter PM, and then NOx, then SOx. Similarly, for unit 2 also, you can all the 4 units data. So we are fully complying with the new environmental norms. Here, details of ESP, we have the 60 fields. So almost we have done more than the 50% revival. Still, we are meeting the requirement for sustainable performance. We are planning to have the retrofitting of all the ESPs so that we fully comply with the requirements. These are only the timeline, and we have because of COVID, there had been delay in the compliance. So we are to improve the collection efficiency. You can see further 3-phase rectifier transformer have been installed, and that is giving also the better result by having the high voltage. Limestone injected to suppress SOx. This is in the percentage. If you see, it varies around, though it is designed for 10%, 7 to 8%. We are lignite is almost 100 to 140 ton. So we are feeding limestone around 7 to 8%. That depends upon the emission level and the quality of limestones. But we have our own captive limestone mines, and that from that we are feeding this. So, but it is a range of this. So what I mean to highlight, this is a low-grade stones, but it is being used and it is full meeting our requirements. Major issues because of this lignite, there is a major issue of corrosion in the gas, flue gas duct, ESP and casing hoppers, causing partial loading and causing the problem of performance of ESP also. So this because the moisture is there, sulfur is there, chloride is there, and this all forms the acid. And because high moisture, dew point temperature is also increasing. So that is a major challenge for us. If in the audience, if anybody have some idea regarding for this corrosion part of the ESP casing ducts and hopper, this would be helpful for us. This is badly affecting us for the performance also and the load restriction also due to partial loading. Problems in ash evacuation from ESP hopper due to moist ash. These are the two major problems to affecting the ESP performance, and not only ESP performance, restricting load of the machines and partial loading is increasing. So that is creating problem in the efficiency side and this also. Apart from this, lime feeding, which we are feeding for sulfur capture, is causing problem in the boiler efficiency, then increasing auxiliary consumption of the boiler, as well as for polarization, we need to have a limestone mills. So their cost is also almost 34 kilowatt per ton, so 35 kilowatt. So that is additional auxiliary consumption. Then boiler loading also, because you are putting lime deposition in second pass tubing in superheater, is badly affecting the heat transfer. And then HFO consumption, because for limestone we need to give HFO for drying out and for proper polarizations. Then other issues are because of ESP air leakage, it is causing increasing the load on ID fan, and that is restricting the load. So there is a partial loading from 5 to 10% because of sometimes tearing. And for that, attending that leakage, again you have to take the shutdown, then you have to do the rectification, again it is increasing partial loading. So that is a major area of concern for us. Because of new environmental norms, now we have to comply with, we have to take the outage of ESP for refurbishment or for attending defect, for attending maintenance activity, so that we could fulfill. So that is also creating problem for the overall plant generation, creating partial loading and increasing partial loading. We are controlling, optimizing the limestone consumptions. That is also because that is creating a problem on the operation side. Higher relative humidity of ambient air, higher rainfall in South Gujarat region, and the high capex and apex for the ESP. As part, we are using 100% dry ash utilization from 2003. So in the last 3 years, 4 years data is given. There also we have used almost 5 lakh to 4,77,000 ton ash dry utilized for the various purpose of fly ash, for making bricks, paving blocks, roads, and we are disposing 100% fly ash. Regarding these norms, you see CO2, SOx, NOx, and particulate matter. So this is also we are complying, and these are the data given for the last 3 years. Regarding environment management on water side also, for last 3 years we have given the data. Fly ash disposal, you can see the silo and the area surrounding area. We are using 100% fly ash utilizations and being conveyed in the dry phase. We have dense phase pneumatic system, phase 2 supplied by one of the your sponsor, United Conveyor Corporations, and it is working well, and there is no dust nuisance or other things. Only we are facing problems in the in case closed trucks and because in there is some dust nuisance. So that is one area of concern. Award of recognition the company has received mainly on the environment side from CII, SGCI, South Gujarat Chamber of Commerce in year 2017, Environmental Excellence Award from Mission Energy only, Environmental Excellence Award 2018 from Mission Energy, fly ash utilization also from Mission Energy, and 2003 we got from the Ministry of Science, Environment, and this National Fly Ash Utilization Award also based in water use. These are the appreciation letter given by CA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for the presentation. I would request you to please stop sharing the screen so that we can have you on stage. I will do it here. I'll do it from here. No worries. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Singh. I can see one question, and that was from Mr. Naresh Patil. Okay, that's more of a very generic question to, I guess, to the entire power sector, power industry. And since we have the leaders here, I'll request Mr. Gupta, Mr. Singh to turn on their video as well, so that we can have answer to this, a very interesting question that Mr. Patil has asked. Whether we will be meeting the deadline given by MOEF, a very straightforward question to the senior leaders here. And we will start with Mr. Gupta, we'll move to Mr. Gadre, and we'll move to Mr. Singh.
As I informed in my presentation, the deadline is changing. Like from the notification of the MOEF notification of 31st March, which says the deadline is based on the categorization of the plant. Earlier deadline was based on the unit waste, which is given by the CPCB. So that's why I told. So this is the challenge. I don't know based on the task force which has formed for the finalization of the categorization of the plant. So which plant is coming in which category, and accordingly we will came to know whether we will able to meet or not. But in case of NTPC, we have awarded very well before, and we are a very advanced stage. So maybe we are hopeful that most of the plant we will able to meet. If it is coming more plant coming in category A or B, then there may be problem. But in coming in category C, then I don't think any problem. So it is still uncertain. So I cannot give the answer very straight way. Right?
Thank you, Mr. Gupta. I'll pass this question to Mr. Gadre.
My answer will be a question that what is the deadline? Because as Mr. Gupta said, we don't know the deadline because this classification has not been done yet. So we don't know we fall under category A, B, or C. So first need to be, okay, what is the deadline for us? That answer comes, then we can say that yes, we are meeting the deadline or not. But as Tata Power, we already ordered everything. Execution has started everywhere. Some places we are in very advanced stage of completion, and some places we have started, or other places we start now. We have ordered everywhere. So, but up till until we know what is the deadline for our plant, we cannot say that we'll be meeting or not meeting.
Thank you. And I would say that Mr. Gadre and Mr. Gupta has put it very wonderfully, that instead of asking whether we will be meeting, best question to do is whether you will be meeting the deadline. So I'll reframe it. So now, thank you so much, Mr. Gadre and Mr. Gupta. I'll request Mr. Singh to share his thoughts, and I'll reframe the question asked by Mr. Naresh Patil, that whether you will be meeting the deadline given by MOEF.
Yes, Mr. Already I told you already we are complying with the new norms, so there is no issue for us. Even though for sustainable performance we are retrofitting the ESP. So anyway, we are complying with this norm. So for us, there is no issue as such guidelines.
Now, I would say that this is a sight, and this is a wonderful sight for every power professional here to see that three leaders are very confident about the timeline. And I hope this answers Mr. Patil's question. And moving forward, I would really like to thank Mr. P.K. Gupta, Mr. Ramkrishna Gadre and Mr. N.K. Singh ji to joining us and taking the time out from their hectic schedule to be a part of the 6th edition of SOXNOX virtual conference. We absolutely look forward for your future cooperation and future presence as well. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Akshay. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you very much.
We are taking a short break here, and post lunch, we have more technical sessions and technology driven sessions by some senior experts from the industry. By then, please have a lunch, and we'll be seeing you again post lunch at
Thank
sharp.
you.
Thank you.